Welcome back, my friends, to an episode of TFT Hyperroll from Mission for Tuition. Remember, it's called Mission for Tuition because we are trying to help pay for our son's high school education. He has to go to a special school that's frightfully expensive, so like, comment, share, do all the stuff to help the YouTube algorithm. But I want to get straight into this. After I did my Cavalier Swiftshot build, I started trying to think of other ways to do Swiftshot. And I came up with this, and I'm not going to claim I'm the only one who thought of it because I've seen other people doing it as I was doing it, but oh dear God, does this work? And I really abused it for the last few days. And I want to show you how to build it, how to abuse it, and everything you need to know. And even though they did slightly nerf Swiftshots, the final thing I will show you is from after those nerfs went into place, and you'll see it still works. First things first, you want to pick up 3 Astrals and then any Swiftshot champion you can get your hands on. Any 3 Astrals will do. Your ultimate goal is going to be to get Skarner, Illaoi, and Varus. But to get there, you're not going to start with 2 3s most likely, so you're going to take whatever. For augment, look for stuff like Swiftshot Heart if you can get it. That's primary. But your first goal is get 3 Astrals on the board. This is as close to an open fort strategy as I've ever seen in Hyperroll, because early losses are actually pretty good for you because they mean more gold, more rolls, more shots at Astrals, and you'll see what I mean as we go. You will see here I'm going to get slaughtered, but it doesn't matter. I'm wanting that last Nidalee so I can at least make her 2 stars because I can sell her for the same cost and then make sure the game will re-roll for me with my 3 Astrals in place. Because remember, it's every 5th shop is going to get you more Astrals. So you want as many rolls as possible in this build. Now you want 3 very specific items: Deathblade, Runan's Hurricane, and Rageblade. You also have no point in trying to take your starting Astrals beyond 2 stars. You don't need to try to get a 3-star Nidalee. You can go for a 2-star Vladimir if you want, but anything that's above a 1 cost other than Skarner, you just don't bother buying them. The rolls are more important. And again, I go into this fight just, well, expecting to lose. It doesn't matter. I have a 2-star Ezreal on the bench who would do much better in there, but I need to keep my Astrals in place because it's going to roll for me at the end of the match, and I want that to count for a shop reroll, and I wouldn't mind the 2 extra gold anyway. You are going to keep buying Skarners when you see Skarner. You're gonna want to get him up to 3 stars. You can put in your Swiftshots once they go. Once you get an Illaoi, you can take out Vlad, goodbye. That will give you Bruiser, but always make sure you're keeping 3 Astrals on the board. Again, notice, I'm ignoring the Nidalee, just picking up the Skarner. If you happen to get any of the 3 key items, Deathblade, Runan's Hurricane, Rageblade, just stack them onto Nidalee. She can hold them for Varus. Every once in a while, you will actually win a fight if you get lucky and just run into someone who's weaker than you, but expect to lose early. Again, remember your 3 main components: Deathblade, Runan's Hurricane, Rageblade. If you see part of them, pick it up. You're always looking for those little sparklies. That means you're going to get an Astral board, which may or may not help. When you see an Illaoi, you lock for it and actually hope you lose so that you can pick up the extra gold for it. And well, I shouldn't say hope you lose, because in reality, I'd rather win since there's no huge benefit to losing except for that 2 extra gold. It's just that if you lose, you're going to be able to pick up the champion you want and then unlock the shop so that you'll get the automatic refresh. And that's what we do right here. Once you find Varus, it is time to say goodbye to Nidalee. You just simply do the replacement, and now you have the 3 Astrals you are going to stick with for the rest of the match. You will not be picking up any more Astrals. You're going to be looking for Bruisers and Swiftshots going forward. For augments, there are a bunch of them that will work. Normally I would have gone for Swiftshot Crest, although I already had a Swiftshot Heart, so that will take me to 6. So that Swiftshot Crest is not necessarily going to do me any good for this match, because I'm already going to be able to get to 6. I was considering Exiles, but decided to roll. Titanic Strength is going to be good because your front line is going to be Bruisers, and your primary Bruisers are going to be Skarner, Illaoi, Shen, and Ornn, because they are going to be able to provide you with everything, and you'll see as we go. Again, notice as we roll like it's a Yordle build, we're only picking up the Skarners, the Illaois, and the Varuses, and we're putting the items onto Varus as soon as we get them. We got Deathblade, it goes straight onto Varus. And again, expect to lose early. Deathblade scales with the star level of the champion, so a 1-star Varus with the Deathblade is not getting much extra power. You don't have enough Bruisers to hold them back yet, and so your Swift Shots are going to get overwhelmed early. Expect it, it's okay. Now there are 2 reasons I go with Shen in this build instead of other high-level Bruisers, and I'll kind of explain it as I go along. But first, since we now have the components of the Rage Blade, they go directly onto Varus. The reason we go with Shen is because of his ult is going to keep the front line up a little bit longer than the other champs. Ornn will come in because he's going to create Tempest along with Ezreal, and that will stun the opposing team. The other reason for Shen is if you don't end up with a Swiftshot Crest or a Swiftshot Heart, then you're not going to be able to get to 6, and so you're going to take Ashe out for Xayah towards the end of the match, and then you can bring in Swain to create Rage Wing, because Swain and Shen and Xayah will create Rage Ring, which will give you that extra little something at the end of the match. One of the other reasons I like this build is this feels like another real traditional TFT build with the strong front line and then the really powerful back line. What I also like about it is that you really feel like you're building into something. There's not some quick swap at the end in the hopes of just getting the right thing. It just builds off itself, even though you lose a lot. Final augment in this match is not particularly helpful. Astral Heart does nothing for you. Meditation, meh. Decided to go with Stand United just to get a little bit extra in terms of damage onto Varus, and that will really matter once he gets up to 3 stars. You'll see how it all works out. You can see here why you keep Ezreal in the match, because working with Ornn, it will stun the opposing team and give Varus even more time to power up. Once we get that Runaan's Hurricane and him up to 3 stars, it's going to create a lot more power and things will go down much, much quicker than this. It's Treasure Dragon time, and we need the last Varus item, which is the Runaan's Hurricane. You're hoping to get it here, but you're kind of playing between different things, which is you want enough gold that you can reroll and get more champions. Individual components are not going to help because all you're going to see going forward are full items. So at some point, you either get what you want or you make a call, as I do right here, and say, I'm just going to go with this so my front line gets even tankier, and I am going to hope that I'm going to be able to get the Runaan's Hurricane out of an item shop down the line. And part of the reason I pulled up there is my Illaoi was so close to 3 stars. I knew I'd be able to get it, which I did in between. I put the Warmogs on, and remember, I have the Titanic Strength, so there's additional attack damage coming from my Bruisers, which is giving me more power. And remember, it's super important to have a friend at Riot because they know what you need. I needed the Runaan's Hurricane, and there it is in the item shop. I decided to give Ezreal the blue buff and the Jeweled Gauntlet just so his attacks are more powerful. At this point, I'm just looking to get the 3-star gold Varus, and there he is. That's thanks to using Astral, but you only need 3 Astrals in order to pull that off. So why these 3 items for Varus? Well, you're going to be able to get him up to 3 stars thanks to Astral, so Deathblade is going to give an incredible amount of attack damage. You might as well spread that attack damage among multiple targets. Even though it's only 70%, it's still going to be high, and Rageblade speeds it all up. As you can see, you get through teams very quickly. Now, I chose this match to showcase because it's going to show a lot of things. Remember how Swiftshot works. It has to do with distance from your target. That's why I keep them separate. In this case, Varus is slowed down because their entire team was stacked right. So his attacks do not get as fast as they could have, and he ends up going down, and my team loses that fight. Although ultimately it is enough to bring us into the top 4. And the positioning of that other team will be very important for later, so remember it. In general, my goal at the end is to keep Xayah and Varus on opposite sides. They are your 2 powerhouses in this build, and so you want to make sure one of them is further away than the other so they get the attack speed. You will see at the end, the damage is just split pretty close between the 2 of them. Now do keep an eye on your opponents. I noticed in this case, Diana was going to jump, and she has a frozen heart, so I do not want her slowing down my 2 powerhouses. So she can jump, she can feast on Twitch and Ezreal, and leave Xayah and Varus alone so they can continue to do their damage. The Tempest and Ornn working together stuns the team, gives them enough time to power up, and in this case it's Xayah who absolutely takes control and is able to finish things off. And I'll stress this a second time, keep an eye on your opponents. They tell you who you're going to face with that little mark. These people are jammed all the way up into the right corner. So I want to make sure that my power swift shots, well, they're over to the left, so they're attacking as fast as they possibly can. And you can see how it works out. With their team stacked that far, look at the speed that Varus and Xayah are attacking with, and how much damage they're ultimately doing. As Ornn does his ult and slows them along with Tempest, their team gets absolutely reduced to nothing, and remember, they beat us last time. The final fight is against the same team, and I checked in and they have not budged. So Varus and Xayah again stay all the way to the left. My tank front line of Bruisers is going to go in and occupy them, keeping them far away from my swift shots, who are picking up lots of extra attack speed just to get to them. And again, you can see just how fast and how damaging they are, with Xayah and Varus leading the team to victory. But this is not just a one-time thing. I did this over and over again. Same build against a Dragonmancer Shyvana. I decided to bring in a Soraka since I was able to get her to 2 stars for the extra healing, so that brought my health back up towards the end. But again, you can see just how much damage Varus does with those particular items. Here, look at the damage chart. Your goal, those 3 key items on Varus, try to find their center of power and just position Varus and Xayah against it, and watch how fast everything goes down and how much damage they do. And sometimes the items just don't come together, but I've found that as long as you have Deathblade and then an Infinity Edge on Xayah, you can make a lot of different things work. They will still do tons of damage, especially if you position them properly against whatever team you're facing. Check out the damage here. And I saved this one to the very end because this game was played after the latest patch, where they nerfed Swiftshot just a little bit and slowed down the amount of attack speed increase based on distance. But I did not notice a major change in how the build played out. You're certainly not always guaranteed first place. There are going to be builds that are going to be able to beat it, or just circumstances that you're not going to be able to get around. But what's important is getting into the top 4 so you can continue to climb all the way up to hyper. And that's what this specific game did for me. So I have now been promoted into hyper tier using this build pretty much exclusively for the last 1,000 or so LP. Hope you enjoyed the video and have an absolutely awesome day.